All right, so you have a hiccuping economy, right? That jobs report, that was a big disappointment, concerns that consumers are going to slow down, and the backdrop of rising prices. We used to call that stagflation. It dominated the Carter years. A lot of folks are saying it could become a very big, consistent, and stubborn theme in the Biden years. Michael Goodwin joins us right now, New York Post columnist, Fox News contributor. Michael, I don't know if it's too soon to use the stagflation term, but others are beginning to whisper it. What do you make?
Well, Neil, it certainly is moving in that direction with gas prices up and job creation down, food prices up, general inflation up, and what looks to be a slowing of the economy. So those are the two main ingredients. And I would add that Brit Hume said something interesting yesterday, that when you're president, you have the problems that come to you just because you're president, and there are then the problems you create for yourself. And I think right now with Joe Biden, we're seeing both. We're seeing sort of an ideological driven agenda. And then you have these issues around the world that are not necessarily in anyone's control or anyone's responsibility, but that they are all happening at once. And so you're seeing this refusal to drill, this calling on OPEC to drill more, and yet canceling pipelines in America, banning drilling on federal lands, new drilling. So you have this combination of policy, which I think is making things worse. And then the government spending certainly adds to inflation. So there is a real effort here, I think, by the Biden administration to pursue an agenda that is backfiring on the American people.
You know, if you think about it, Michael, regardless of what people's views on climate change or clean energy, I think most people could have accepted, or probably would have accepted, a president who was all in on, clean energy, whether it be solar power, wind power, whatever, but not at the expense of something that had brought us to energy independence, where we didn't need to rely on OPEC and OPEC plus countries to produce more oil. The irony is, since that edict to shut down the Colonial Pipeline, to de-emphasize fossil fuels, we've put ourselves in this position where we're begging our enemies, so to speak, to do the job that we won't. It's weird.
It is, and that's the ideological component to this, that somehow we have to tamp down on fossil fuels at any expense. And so that leads you to make these decisions that have no regard to the consumer, to the American people at the end. So, look, we all want clean air. We all want clean water. And America has been getting there steadily for the last 50 years. But to do it in an ideological way that takes no heed to the economy or its impact on ordinary families, I think is very destructive, and it undermines the entire venture, because then people say, oh, green, that just means more expenses for me. And what benefit do I get out of that? That's right now where the Biden agenda is sitting, I think, at this crossroads.
You know what's kind of weird about it, too, Michael, if you just step back? Generally, inflation, at least some of the major bouts we've had of it, particularly in the 70s, it all started with oil. Back in 73 with the oil and the OPEC embargo. It accelerated with the equivalent of a similar embargo under Jimmy Carter. But then it quickly spread to other areas. The same pattern here. What we learned in both cases is it's not short-lived. It's not transitory. Jimmy Carter found out the hard way. Do you think President Biden will as well?
Well, I don't have a lot of confidence in Joe Biden's receptivity to bad news. This White House is somewhat opaque, and you don't know really what the president is doing or thinking, or even who he's meeting with on a day-by-day basis. We see very little of him. He doesn't answer many questions, certainly at length. So there's a kind of opaqueness about this White House that adds to the mystery as to why the policies are being pursued. And you talked about energy starting the ball rolling. And with so much transportation involved, internationally as well as nationally, getting goods to markets, getting getting pieces and items used in manufacturing shipped from here to there, whether it's from China to New York or from California to Michigan for fruit and vegetables. Transportation is fundamental to everything we do now in this globalized economy. And so when transportation prices go up, it has to, by definition, trickle down into the price of everything that moves.
Yeah, and it's happening as we speak, and that is the process we saw in the early 70s and again the late 70s and playing out again. To your point, too soon to say whether it's outright stagflation, but history might not repeat itself, but it sure as heck is rhyming. Michael Goodwin, always good catching up with you, my friend. I very much appreciate it.